You're creative, you just don't know it. And today I'm going to tell you why. Come and have a seat at the adults table and let's talk about creativity. I'm Fernanda Rodriguez, and welcome to the adults table. Today I'm coming to you from my kitchen. Look how beautiful this background. Look how amazing, how professional. I love it. I want to say something before we get into the content for today, which is the gap there is between your vision towards something and what's possible right now, and how we can sometimes give up on projects just because what's possible right now is not the ideal state. So I have this vision, I have this idea of how I want my setup to be, my background, my studio, whatever, for the adult table. But then what's possible right now is not my vision. I don't have the resources or I don't have the whatever, right? For many reasons that are just part of life. And then because that's not your vision, a lot of people not even start or continue because they get so frustrated by the fact that they cannot do or fulfill their ultimate vision. But the process in itself, the process of getting there includes these things, includes showing up from your kitchen. Like, I'm not happy about this. I'm not excited about this, but it's what I have. I just spent an hour before starting to record this episode try to think of a corner in my apartment that I liked better than the my guest bedroom. That feels right now too cluttered and is where I record from. So I don't know, that place has been annoying me. So I'm like, where else can I record from? And we ended up in the kitchen. So I don't know. It's funny because I also think that those are the fun times. Those are the times that once you make it and once you fulfill your vision and you tell people about how you started, this is where you look back and you're like, so I started from my kitchen, and you hear all those stories. So I don't know. They're fun, but while you're living them, you're like, God damn it, I just want, my studio or my background the way that I envision. But anyway, we're here anyway, and we're happy. Let's talk about creativity. This is a topic that I hold really close to my heart. I love the topic creativity because I feel like we killed our creativity when we were younger, or you was killed by someone, right? So you used to draw and you used to paint and you used to sing and you used to dance and you used to invent new plays and you used to, have this mind full of imagination because all of us as kids were like that. And then one day what happened is that you drew a cloud that was red, and an adult looked at it and they were like, "This is not a cloud. A cloud is white. This is not a cloud." And you're like, "Shoot, yeah, I guess they're right. This is not a cloud and I suck and I cannot, paint or do anything." Or you go back to a box. You're like, "Okay, so I'm going to draw my cloud white or color my cloud white just like everybody else." Or you see your buddy who is really good at drawing realistic images. So, the strokes are really clear and it's very detailed, and you don't have that. And he's praised for drawing that way. His talent is praised. And because you don't have that same talent, you're like, okay, I'm not creative. So you make a decision at that point that you're not creative. Therefore, you don't explore that side of you. And you look at those people, like your buddy who has the perfect drawing or the artist that you admire, and you think that creativity is something that's just for them. You think that it's not accessible, it's not at your access. And I think that's a shame because creativity is part of who we are as individuals. Creativity is the foundation of human existence or any existence for that matter. Nature is extremely creative. We, as part of nature, are extremely creative. I feel like creativity is the ability of connecting the dots and creating something new, right? And we all have that as individuals. We all have that as human beings. Nature has that. So nature, there's nothing more creative than nature. Nature is creating all the time. You just look around. And for us, it's the same, whether that's through reproduction, that, okay, not everyone is able to reproduce, right? But as a species, we reproduce and we create new human beings. The fact that we are here, you and I, is because we are creations. And I don't say, oh, we're creations by a God that one day created. No, no, it's two individuals who came together and created something new, someone new. So you are the byproduct of the connection between two dots, in this case, two humans. Therefore, creativity is the foundation of human existence. It's that force that connects us to nature, to the universe. We all have access to that. And it's a shame to think that we don't. So today we're going to talk about some of the reasons why we don't think we're creative, because I feel like in order for you to explore your creativity, you first have to redefine what that means to you. We have to organize some ideas in your head, and that's what we're doing today. Let's start with when you say you're not creative. So you think of yourself as a non-creative person. That's usually because of one or these three things together, which is you're confused by the term creativity. You don't know what it actually means. Number two, you don't know who you are. And number three, you are controlled by resistance. Let's explore these three fronts. Number one, you're confused by the term creativity. I just gave you a high level concept, at least in my opinion, on what creativity is. This is the way that I perceive it. And we're going to talk more about that throughout the episode. But when you think of the word creativity, you confuse it with the terms inspiration, artistic expression, and disruptive. So when you think of the creative people, you imagine them as being constantly inspired. You think that those are people that their natural state of being and their constant state of being is inspired. No matter what they're doing, if they're walking down the street, oh, I just had an idea. The light bulb goes off, right? No matter what I'm doing, I'm having a conversation, I am walking down the street, I'm taking a shower, I am explaining something to you, I'm reading something. No matter what happens, that light bulb goes off. You think, you imagine, and you assume that that's their way of living. But the reality is that inspiration is something that you invite. It's not something that is just here all the time, at all times, and some people have and some people don't. We can all get in touch with inspiration. It's just a matter of inviting it. And we do a poor job in inviting them. Whereas artists and the people that you look up to, they do a phenomenal job of inviting it by showing up every day. Those people understand that creativity is not about being spontaneous all the time. It's about process, it's about structure, it's about creating an environment that makes you show up every day and invite this inspiration. It's about curiosity. It's about awareness. It's about things that you can control more than you think. But the moment that the inspiration arises in itself, you cannot control that particular moment. Therefore, what you need to do is expand the chances for it to arrive. And we don't do that well. We're going to talk more about some of the ways that you can invite that inspiration. But you have to start seeing inspiration in the whole creative conversation around there is this world that we live, the material world, and there is a world of ideas, right? There's a world that we can all get in touch with because we just live in it as well. We just don't see it. But it's this world of ideas and it's the collective unconscious. So it's all of that energy and all of those ideas that exist amongst us, and we can all tap into that world. So it ends up being like you're here, the world of ideas is here. You can communicate with that world 100%. And how you do is through imagination, right? So the moment that you start imagining it and thinking of images and you sit down, and again, this is a process. This is not just something that naturally happens. Okay. Some people are naturally more creative than others, 100%. But it's something that you can work on, right? So you, through imagination and through these processes, you invite that. And then that world responds back with inspiration. And then that moment that you have that content within your reach, then you can create, then you can connect the dots and think of something that wasn't there before. So this is kind of the, at least in my opinion, this is the way that I see creativity and the way that it flows. This is what happens. But in order to unlock this, you have to have awareness to understand when that's happening. You have to have curiosity. You have to have a process and you have to have courage because a lot of times you're going to get in touch with that world and then you're going to explore those ideas, but you don't have the courage to show them because you're controlled by resistance, because you have the fear of being a failure. You have the fear of success. We're going to talk about that in a second. But what I want you to understand right now is that creativity is not the same as a constant state of inspiration. And it's not something that, okay, some people are inspired and you're not. But you have to consciously find ways of developing that and inviting inspiration. The second mistake that we make and the confusion that we make is thinking that creativity is the same as artistic expressions. So who are the people that you think are creative? Leonardo da Vinci, Van Gogh. You think of all of these painters, you think of all of the musicians, and you think of all of these people that you look up to. and they have something in common. Most of them are artistic, right? But being artistic is just an outlet to express your creativity. And it's not the same outlet for everybody. It doesn't have to be, and it shouldn't be the same outlet to everybody. How boring would it be if the way for every person to express creativity was the same? How boring the world would be. So, yes, you look up to a lot of people who are artistic from your buddy back in elementary school or whatever, kindergarten. I don't know. I don't know why I just forgot that word. But you look to them and you're like, "Oh, they can create these perfect lines and this perfect landscape, and it's amazing and it's gorgeous, and I don't have that, therefore I'm not creative." No, you are creative. It's just that that's not your outlet. And that's completely fine. Or that could be also your outlet, but you're just not allowing yourself to explore that in the first place. But it's not just that same outlet. Other examples of outlets that are extremely creative: food. Chefs are extremely creative. The way that they combine foods, they connect the dots to then create something new, a new flavor, a new way of presenting and showing that plate, that dish, right? So food is extremely creative. Science, talk about something that is far from artistic, but extremely creative, extremely creative. Science. Business. I once met this woman that she went to art school and she's a painter, but she's also the chief transformation officer of a PE firm in New York. Imagine something extremely corporate. That's her job. And one time I was talking to her and I said, "How do you handle this, the two sides of you? How do you manage to be okay with working in corporate while knowing that you're extremely creative and you can paint beautiful landscapes and you love going to Italy for the week to participate in this workshop and exercise your creativity?" And she told me, "What do you mean?" Those are the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just expressed in a different way. So yes, I can paint and I can be artistic, but my job is highly creative because what I'm doing all the time is thinking of creative ways to solving problems. So I'm connecting the dots all the time and I'm coming up with new ideas. That is extremely creative. It's just a different outlet. So you look at your life and you look at the things that you can do and you cannot do, and you think you're not creative because you're not artistic. Another thing that can be extremely creating is just coming up with a new way of solving something. You create a new way to organize your closet. I like the way that Liz Gilbert, the author of Eat, Pray, and Love, she has a great book called Big Magic. I highly recommend it, in which she talks about creativity and how she approaches it. But she sees creativity as a way to operate in which your curiosity is bigger than your fear. So it's not about it being artistic or not artistic. It's a way of operating, in her opinion. And again, the artistic expression is just one outlet. Last but not least, you think that it has to be disruptive. So only, oh, this inventor, this person who invented something completely new, it's only original if it's disruptive and it's innovative. But that's not the case at all. In order to create, remember when I said that you connect the dots? So you connect the dots between things that already exist. So we get inspiration from multiple different sources and then we create something new. It doesn't have to be something that, oh my gosh, okay, I just heard, the divine voice in my head and it's coming out of nowhere. No, it's coming out of your experience. It's coming out of the access that you have of things that already exist. So it doesn't have to be disruptive, as in, oh, it has to be the most innovative thing. It just has to be the connection between dots that already exist. So, and creating something new, obviously, but it doesn't have to be the most disruptive thing. Something can be highly creative and not necessarily extremely disruptive. And if you think about creativity this way, and if you understand that it's the connection between dots, the more you expand your sources, the more you allow yourself to create something original, right? But it's funny because I feel like even sometimes you create something original just because it's you. Like again, you look at nature and you see that the same tree creates different leaves. And these leaves they do the same thing. But when you look at them, they're different. They're original in themselves because each being or each living thing is unique. You can have twins and there's still going to be differences between them in their personalities. I don't care because they're unique. They can be identical twins, look the same, but they're still unique. So your creation doesn't have to be disruptive. Oh my gosh, nobody has seen anything like this before. This is going to change the world and it's the next thing. No, it doesn't have to be that way. Stop putting that pressure into you. It doesn't have to be that way. So stop adding this pressure in yourself of having to be inspired all the time, of having to be artistic, highly artistic, and highly disruptive. Creativity is within reach to everybody. You are creative, accept that reality. Okay. Now, the second reason why many of us don't think we're creative is because we don't know who we are. The moment that you understand who you are, the moment that you understand your creative outlets, the moment that you start to be aware of what makes you you, and you start exploring that versus trying to be someone else, that's when you get creative. Because then you stop trying to be somebody else. You stop trying to operate like somebody else. When you try to operate like somebody else, your limit or your ceiling for your creativity is very low, because the limit for your creativity, it's what that person has already done, right? Your imagination doesn't go beyond that because you just don't have that content within you. Now, the moment that you understand who you are and you understand the way that you operate, the way that the potentials that you have, the powers that you have within you, not somebody else, then you can expand on that. And then you're going to find, my love, how deep that can be. So you dive deep into that versus trying to be somebody else. I have a friend that she had one of those sip and paint, I guess, like those sip and paint nights that she and a bunch of friends are painting. And then a friend of hers was being more abstract. So she was creating, when she was painting, she was like imagining other things and being more abstract. Whereas she was being more following the rules. The strokes are more realistic, I guess. And she was frustrated. She's like, oh, I'm not creative because so and so was being so creative by being so abstract in her painting. And that made me think a lot. I'm like, you were also creative, but you're creative within this shape, this particular shape. And we need people like that. We need people with this ability as well. So instead of trying to be like her, go find your own way of expression and what you have to add and export there, dive deep there versus trying to distract yourself by being somebody else. So the moment that you start to look at yourself more, to become more aware of who you are, and most importantly, own who you are, you're therefore more creative as well because you start to unlock this power within you. You start to unlock your potentials within you. And then when it's the moment for you to tap into that realm of ideas, you know exactly how to listen and how to bring that to the material world your way. And then last but not least, you think you're not creative because you're controlled by resistance. So you say, okay, I am going to start writing, which is something that I like, or I'm going to start, I don't know, thinking of creative ideas for my job. Doesn't matter what it is. But the reality once you start is that there are going to be so many points of resistance that will try to keep you from creating. And if you don't know that, you give in and you're controlled by these points of resistance in a way that is unaware. You don't even know that that's happening. So bringing that awareness and understanding what these points are is step one. And then creating mechanisms to deal with them is step two. There is a book that I love that I highly recommend to everybody and anybody, which is called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. This book really changed the way that I approach creativity and the way that I approach the day-to-day life and bringing those ideas into life. So it talks about, and I'm going to read through the main points of resistance, but become familiar with those, okay? And also understand that everyone goes through this because the moment that those points start emerging into your life, you think that you're the problem. You think that there's something very unique about you that you cannot, put yourself to executing these things and putting your ideas into life. But everyone that you admire faces those resistances. Some types of resistance more than others, for sure. But all of us experience that resistance, which is that force that wants to get in the way of our creation. So, what are some of the points of resistance? Number one, procrastination. Number two, fear. Fear of failure, yes, but also fear of success. This book was the first book that I came across, the idea of fear of success. And it's very much real and it's much bigger to a lot of people than just the fear of failure. I think I have an episode talking about the fear of success. If not, I should record one. There's a fear of looking foolish. How many of us, especially today with social media, it's funny because we have the power to create like never before, but we're less original than never before because it's so easy to copy everybody. We're so overwhelmed with the many different ways of living life and expressing creativity. And we're also so afraid of being seen trying, of the judgment in social media, of being canceled, of being made fun of. So it's not just the people that we know, it's strangers. People from countries away can talk shit about the way that I express myself. So it's a really powerful tool, social media, for creativity when you know how to use it, but also it can kill your creativity. And one of the reasons it's this fear of being judged, the fear of being seen trying and look foolish. Then there's self doubt as a resistance, not being good enough, not being ready, not being the right person for it. I have an episode talking about, are you really not ready to start? You should listen to it because we think that we have to be at this state of perfection and being completely ready, but being ready is a decision. So this self doubt is also a point of resistance. Perfectionism, which, do I have an episode about it? If not, I should also record it. I think I do. But perfectionism also gets in the way. You think that it has to be perfect, right? So many of us go through that point of resistance. Then rationalization. You try to rationalize things and negotiate with yourself. Oh, but maybe I can wait a little bit more because when I have more of this, when I have more of that, so on and so forth. Distraction and easy pleasures. Another one that, if you're not aware, this one is so present for all of us because you have a phone in your hand. And I don't want to blame like social media and phones for everything. Like, we are the people responsible for knowing how to deal with these things and handle them and overcome the resistance. Okay. It's not like you're just a victim of this new way of life that is not that new anymore, of social media and phones and whatnot. But we have to talk about it just so we find ways of dealing with it, right? And finding creativity regardless. So you have a phone in your hand right now that you get instant reward and instant pleasure. You can go on social media and just scroll and and bring your dopamine levels super high. You can, I don't know, order food and distract yourself. There's so much that you can do. And it's easy right now. So your brain will often pick that and usually pick that over sitting down and thinking. Like, sometimes I think about, again, Leonardo da Vinci, because I'm reading his book right now, his biography by Walter Isaacson. The dude would just go outside, bring a notebook, sit down, and observe things. Can you imagine doing this these days? If you tell a teenager, if you tell like a young adult to do this these days, they're gonna be like, what the fuck, no. If they bring their phones, that attention is gonna last for 5 seconds before they go on social media or find whatever distraction there might be. So we're so used now to, and I don't want to get too deep into this topic, but we're so used now to saying, oh, our attention span is so low because I have ADHD. Oh, because, like, it's because you're so attached to your goddamn phone and instant rewards. So distraction has never been easy. It's never been easier to be distracted. We have never had so much access to content and good content, but at the same time, we've never been this distracted. So distraction and easy pleasures are points of resistance. That you have to create systems to navigate and mechanisms to navigate that. Then we have criticism, right? Both fear of criticism, but also criticizing others because you're afraid of their judgment. That's another point of resistance. We have my favorite, victimhood and self pity. I fucking hate that one. I'm sorry, pardon my French, but I cannot stand people that live their lives as if it is a byproduct of other people's decisions and they're just a victim of their own lives. They have no power of changing their lives. They have no autonomy. They have nothing because that was taken away from them. They cannot recover it. Although everything that we go through obviously influences our lives, it doesn't determine our lives. We have the power to determine. So it's easy for you to say, oh, I don't create because when I was younger, my parents didn't enroll me in music school, in music class, in dance class. Oh, it's because my parents didn't encourage that growing up. Oh, it's because whatever I create, I feel like I'm too perfectionist and I'm a victim of my perfectionism. You got to change the narrative that you tell yourself about you and your life. Only then can you start to be creative, because creative has a lot to do with awareness and accountability and showing up. And if you don't have these things, if you're a victim of your own life, then you're never going to get in touch with your creativity. Another point of resistance is unrealistic expectations. You hope for quick success. How many times you say, I'm going to explore something new, I'm going to explore this side of me. But because you're not an overnight success, right? Then everything's wrong. Another effect of social media. You go here, you see people who are super young becoming super famous, but things take time. Things take time. I was watching a video yesterday of the founder of Dyson, and he had 5,000 prototypes before creating the Dyson vacuum that we know. 5,000. That was 15 years of work. So you think that because you don't have overnight success, then you're not creative enough, or that there's a problem with you. And then you are controlled by that resistance. You expect things to be too quick. So adjust your expectations. The other point of resistance is love and support, which I really like as well, because that one is very unaware, which is we have people in our lives that mean well, and they're afraid that we're going to get hurt, or they're afraid that, by us pursuing that, then that's not going to be good for us. So then we give in to that opinion. So you always have to go back to you and your intention and who you are. So I highly recommend that you read the book, The War of Art, not the Art of War, but The War of Art. And you become aware of the points of resistance. The moment that you can see something, then you can change it, right? The problem is when you cannot see it. The problem is when you're not aware of it. But the moment that you are, then you can change it, because then you can create processes. Then you can decide to change in the first place. So understanding why you think you're not creative and understanding what creativity is, let's then talk about some of the ways that you can become creative. Number one is everything that we just talked about. You are going to understand that you are creative. You're going to look in the mirror and you're going to be like, I'm creative. Damn, that's awesome. Own that. Okay. Stop adding so much pressure and weight into the word creativity. It's not just for the geniuses, it's for you too. That's number one. Number two, you are going to explore different outlets. Maybe you're not artistic, or maybe you are and you don't even know it because it don't even give you a chance. So explore different outlets just for the sake of exploring and discovering. For a hobby, it's not for you to be good. Let go of the need to be good. First, you have to explore what these outlets are. You're not going to show up to a pottery class thinking that you're going to become the master of pottery the day that you try it. Stop with that. You don't have to be good. You have to have fun. You have to discover. It's a hobby. Go explore different outlets. Go sign up for that painting class that you wanted to sign up. Go sign up for that, whatever. Sign up for it. Exercise your imagination. That can be at work too. Okay, what's something at work that is not working? Okay, that didn't sound great. What's something that's not working? And how can I solve that problem? You as who you are, as the information, with the information that you have, how can you connect those thoughts in your head, in your mind, and come up with something new, with a new way of solving that problem? But you have to sit down, you have to have patience, and you have to contemplate that problem for a while, right? And a lot of us don't have the patience. So you got to develop that. Number three, invest in self knowledge, invest in knowing who you are. Whether that's therapy, yes, therapy is one of the tools to know who you are, but it's not the only tool, which that in itself could be another episode too. We outsource our self-knowledge. We think that our consciousness is our therapist. We make that mistake, right? And then you never really develop the knowledge of who you are. You're just applying what somebody else tells you about your life and making that your truth. So invest in knowing who you are. That means awareness. That means creating the practice of sitting down with your emotions, asking yourself questions, being aware. That means reading about it. That means, it's so much more than just going to therapy. It's also going to therapy. You should also go to therapy. Invest in knowing who you are. Number four, create a routine and a process to invite inspiration. That can be, I don't know, you tell yourself, I'm going to write every day from this time to this time. And this is my commitment with myself. I'm also going to post an episode about discipline. You should listen to that one, because discipline is going to 100% impact your creativity. And you should become a disciplined person if you want to be creative. So you think that discipline is something that is going to make you rigid, but it's not. It's what gives you freedom. So listen to the other episode. But you have to create a process. What is it? How do you invite inspiration? And that's usually, like I said, a routine. Twyla Tharp, who is an American choreographer, dancer, and writer, she has a book called The Creative Habit, which I also highly, highly recommend, because you see through her process how creativity is a process, how you invite inspiration. And some of the things that you can do, obviously, you're going to create your own process, but you break that idea that artists are just inspired people who are all the time in their lives, all their, waking hours, and even when they're asleep, they're inspired. She talks about something that I found really interesting. She said, when I'm trying to create a choreography to something and I know that I have to evoke a certain emotion, then I find ways to invoke that emotion. And she gives the example, if I have to feel sad and I'm not feeling sad at the moment, then I go to a hospital and I just sit there and I get in touch with that emotion. So, do you see that it's a way of proactively opening up space for that inspiration to come? So she does a lot of that, and she gives other examples of how she does it. But Liz Gilbert says the same thing. You have to create a process. Oh, you create every day for 15 minutes. You write every day, but it has to be every day. It has to be consistent because then you open more spaces, more opportunities for inspiration to arrive. 5, you have to become aware of the points of resistance and you have to make it your goal to beat it. Beat resistance. Your goal when you're creating and your success when you're creating, you and everybody else, everyone that you admire, our goal is to beat resistance, is to not give in to resistance. We get so worried about, oh, is this good enough? Is this not good enough? But the reality is, if you do the work, if you show up every day, and if you're able to beat resistance, you are going to build something authentic. Because so much is going to happen, you are successful if you're able to beat resistance. So don't let the fact that maybe where you're creating is not perfect, it's not good enough, whatever. Don't let that discourage you. Stop trying to focus on the end result and focus on what you can control, which is beating resistance, which in itself is already extremely hard. Last but not least, expand your sources. I told you that creativity is about connecting the dots and creating something new. Great, amazing. So, what dots are you connecting? Are you the person who your sources of inspiration is just your bubble? Burst out of your bubble. You have to understand the premise of life today, one of the premises, which is that you do realize that what social media does to you is to keep you in a bubble. There's an algorithm that understands what you like to consume, what type of content you like to consume, and what does it do? It shows you more of that. So your view of the world is very limited and it's very closed because it's all around the algorithm. If you don't proactively seek inspiration and sources outside of that bubble, they won't find you. So if you're a person who your only source of inspiration is Pinterest, I'm sorry, my love, you're going to be creating what everyone's creating already. So burst that bubble, get out of it. Okay, yeah, Pinterest, you can also find a lot of inspiration there. Great. But where else are you finding inspiration? I just gave you the example of Twyla Tharp. Where else are you finding inspiration? Like go to a fucking bookstore and just browse around, open random books, and start paying attention. The more attention you pay to things, the more creative you are. Leonardo da Vinci, when he talks about observation and he talks about creativity as experimenting, right, and observing, he says, when you're observing something, you have to break that thing into many different pieces, and then you pay attention to that one piece first. And when you exhaust that one piece and you fully understand it and you can talk about it, then you move to the next one and the next one and the next one. So, what is that? In other words, attention. It's attention, which is something that we don't have today. So exercise it. Eliminate distractions. Go to other places. Go find different sources of inspiration. The more sources you have, or the more diverse your sources are, the more creative you can be. So who is going to sign up for the class that they've been wanting for years? Who is going to start creating that thing that they've wanted to create? Who is going to propose something new at work with their own ideas? You. Yes. Thanks for listening. You are creative. I don't want to hear you say that you're not creative anymore. We need your creativity in this life. Each one of us has something to add and to contribute through creation. Okay? Stop trying to be somebody else and go figure it out who you are and how you can contribute. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the next episode at the Adult Stable.